back. This is the next installment of my YouTube. This is going to be a pretty short one, but I guess I want to talk a little bit about like the 80-20 principle. I am not super well versed in the 80-20 principle, but I know how to make it make sense for me. And I use money because that's important. You know, doesn't mean you're greedy. You just, you need to make sure that you are making enough money that all your needs are covered and you can do those things that you want to do and buy the food and pay for your house or your apartment or condo or your van or whatever it is. That's an important aspect of this. The money part is just part of it, and that's fine. So 80-20, as a freelancer, and I mean this works for anything, you just plug in, whatever you're doing. But for me as a freelancer, you look at your clientele base, right? As a rule of thumb, 20% of your clientele base is going to provide you with 80% of your income. Those are the ideal clients. That's the ideal clientele. That's what you're looking for. So for me, the little things that I do on the side, like doing photos for buddies and shooting BTS videos for buddies and, whatever. There's certain things that I do that I'm gonna do them, as long as they don't take up too much of my time. Since time is money, of course, and time is very valuable, especially for a freelancer who has a certain, a particular skill set that is in demand and, whatever. So the trick to all of this is focusing on that 20% of your clientele that is providing you with 80% of your income, and the other stuff, it makes the most sense to try to limit that stuff as much as you can, those clients or that clientele, whatever, especially if it takes up a lot of your time, where that time you could be finding a client like the ones that are paying you that 80% of your income, finding out what it is about that client that works, and try to duplicate or replicate, whichever Kate you want to use. I don't think it matters, but try to replicate that client multiple times. Makes sense though, right? The clients that pay you the most money and it fits into your schedule well, then it makes sense to try to replicate that with other clients. So I'm currently in the process of looking for that next thing or that next client or whatever that can provide me with that money I'm looking for. Because the money is what is moving me toward my goals, which for a while I've been thinking about doing the real estate stuff, trying to get invested in that, because it's a common thing as a freelancer or self-employed person to not have a 401k. So you got to think about retirement, and I talked about that in a previous video. Make sure that you're putting money toward that, and a good way to do that is an investment. I know Roth IRAs are good in lieu of a 401k. I know that's a pretty good plan. I think they even upped the amount that you can put in that now, which is cool. So that's a good one to do. Fucking ETFs are great. But for me, I'm more interested in real estate, because the nice thing about real estate is that it's tangible and people always need a place to live. They always will. That's a good one to get into, I believe. I've been trying to educate myself on that whole industry, and I have some friends who are in that industry already, and one of them being Isaac out in Colorado, which I've talked about him in a previous video as well. He has a lot of knowledge in that subject, that industry. He's invested in something already, which is pretty cool. And so I can kind of lean on him a little bit if I need any extra clarification on things that maybe I don't understand or whatever. But otherwise, just watch YouTube. I said that in a previous video. Because you can learn all kinds of stuff from YouTube. But yeah, so the plan is to make money, which is good. It's nice if that job that I'm doing is paying me good money and also fits into my schedule really well. And if it's remote, even better. So I can do that from anywhere, even if I take a trip somewhere, with my wife or my buddies or whatever, or if I just want to go do something on my own or whatever, I can still get my work done and I don't have to be tied to a physical location, which is amazing. I can focus on doing the things I want to do. I have time to go to the gym. I can have hobbies. That's great. But yeah, and then get the first real estate investment property. And, Airbnb is cool. And I would like to dabble in that a little bit just to see how that goes. I don't know how long Airbnb is going to be a thing, short-term rentals, but it's a thing right now. And it's a way where you can get all of the long-term benefits of the fact that it's always going to go up in value. It's pretty steady. And of course there's housing bubbles and housing crashes and whatever. There's always a chance of that. But if you can hold on to it, then you can weather that storm and it always recovers, So grab that property and hold on to it for the rest of your life. And in the meantime, there's some strategies that go along with that, which is really cool as well, right? You have all the tax benefits of being a real estate investor. And if it's Airbnb, then it's active income. So if you claim losses on that property, which is something that's written into the tax code, claiming depreciation, and there's credits and, all kinds of crap, all kinds of deductions that you can use to your advantage to lower your taxable income, which is nice because then you just get to hold on to more money instead of paying it into taxes, because according to the law or whatever, the tax code, you lower your taxable income, that means that it looks like you made less money for that year, and so you pay less taxes. That's something that is available to everybody, especially with Airbnb, since it counts as active income. It can come off of your active income, from doing podcasts or photos or videos or whatever. That's all active income. So that's a cool thing about Airbnb and short-term rentals. There's also midterm rentals, which in St. Louis is a really good industry, I believe, from what I've looked up online, and that's going to be like traveling nurses mainly, but, just anybody who's traveling, contract workers, any kind of stuff like that. So midterm, so, probably 6 months or less, which that's kind of nice. And just the way that all of that works is if they stay for, a shorter period of time, then they pay more monthly. So, you could potentially make 2.5 maybe times what the mortgage costs on that. So that's pretty darn good too. I think even that one might count as active income. Now, if you're doing regular long-term rentals, like 12 months and beyond, that is considered passive income. So, the losses that you get on that do not take away from your active income, your whatever you do for money actively, podcasts, photography, whatever. I didn't know that until someone else I know was under the impression that they could deduct that from their active income, and their accountant said, no. So that was kind of a shock for that person, unfortunately. So they ended up owing taxes that they didn't think they were going to owe. And so, that's never fun, especially when it's a lot. Anyway, I'll probably talk about this again at some point, but that's the goal. The goal is to maximize my income. There's some kind of ratio in there. Income to time investment, whatever. And the extra benefit of, that stuff being completely remote. That is what I'm trying to maximize and get me toward that investment goal, which is buying the first place, which we almost bought a place this year, but we backed out at the last minute because it wasn't like exactly what we were looking for. And we felt like we were just settling for that place because it was available and the seller was motivated, but it could not be short-term rented. It could have possibly been midterm. Ultimately, we decided against it because we want to have the option of doing, trying short-term or midterm, if we want to. So there's a lot of places I think available in St. Louis, but we're just going to take our time here and make sure that it's just right. That's the direction that I'm moving, or we're moving, me and my wife. And, you know, I'll make a video about that when we get that place and, you know, talk about some of the things that we learned from that experience. But I guess I'll probably end it there. This went on much longer than I was expecting. I thought it was gonna be like a 5-minute video, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna post this thing up real quick and go to bed.